FOS back here at Radio Row at the Super Bowl, and I've got legendary sports agent Leigh Steinberg with me. Leigh, thanks for talking to us.
My pleasure. I love front office sports. I read it every day.
That's what we love to hear. If we have you as a daily reader, then we're doing something right. One of your many clients, Patrick Mahomes. So a big week for him, a big week and weekend for you. How do you feel about Pat Mahomes being back in the Super Bowl and the chance of a Chiefs three-peat?
I think it's wonderful. You have a team that people are starting to say, well, they've been there too much, but they're actually nice. And if you wanted to have a representative, look at, Fumbarooski with Andy Reid, and Patrick is great, and he's very focused. Football greatness is established in a quarterback by the ability to take a team to and win the Super Bowl. So we're on the verge of history, but at another level, it's just a football game, and they have to treat it like that.
Do you think there are fans who have just, or I know there are, who have just kind of had enough of the Chiefs dynasty already? And, as a guy from the Boston area, a Patriots fan, I remember people being tired of the Patriots dynasty. You see some similarities there?
Absolutely. There's a way in which people like to hate the dynasty, and so whatever the dynasty is, it could be the old New York Yankees, now it's going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers, and there's a certain pushback, but it's all fair, and as long as they keep coming to games and watching on TV, we'll be fine.
What do you make of the hemming and hawing about the refs? And people say the Chiefs get a lot of preferential treatment.
That's absolutely ridiculous. Those refs are heavily scrutinized. They're rated on every call they make. They go back over that tape over and over again. Their jobs are on the line in terms of making correct calls. And what interest would the league have in whether it's Kansas City or Buffalo in the game? 130 million people will probably watch on Sunday, and it's the biggest marketing event in American sports. In other words, a player who performs dramatically in this game will cross over from being a great football player to being a household name because we have a celebrity making machine.
The NFL is trying to expand the regular season and add an 18th game. You're someone who represents players. How do you think players feel about that effort?
Don't like it because the football is a traffic accident on every play, and people's joints get worn down. The season already is so long, and what would happen is you just have more injuries. The games are played at a higher level of intensity if you're replacing a preseason game. I know it's all about revenue, but these are human beings playing the game.
Yeah. Leigh, let's talk about you a little bit. In your career, you've been through a lot. I came down and spent some time with you in Irvine, California, more than a decade ago. And we talked about where you were in your life and everything you had been through. You were in kind of a hard place and trying to make a comeback. And we wrote a story in Fortune that also ran in Sports Illustrated about your effort to make a comeback. And you have made that comeback. I mean, you're Patrick Mahomes' agent. Talk to us a little bit about how that happened and how you came all the way back.
So I struggled with alcohol and eventually in 2010 realized I had a problem and I had to find another way. So I joined a unique fellowship, worked a 12-step program, and gradually, day by day, things came back around. And, I had represented 64 first-round draft picks and the first pick in the draft 8 times. I was never worried about that, the ability to come back in a business sense. It was my comeback, if you will, is maintaining sobriety and being a good father to my kids. And anything else is sort of extra. And to make a difference in the world. This week we established a concussion foundation in my name that will do prevention, awareness, and cure. And what we've discovered in this field is the assumption that a TBI brain would only go down a slippery slope to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and premature senility and chronic traumatic encephalopathy. We now have breakthrough treatments that can change we have breakthrough treatments that can totally revitalize the brain through the theory of neuroplasticity. And that's exciting news.
Two more for you, Leigh. You wrote a great New York Times op-ed about betting and legalized sports betting and the problems there. You nailed it. The leagues are in so deep with these companies. Look around Radio Row. Everywhere you see is DraftKings and FanDuel. And sure enough, we've seen a number of issues with players betting on games. What do you think is going to happen from here? It'll just get worse? Can the leagues get a handle on these issues?
I think it's a ticking time bomb. And eventually you're going to have a player who either, one, reveals inside information to a gambler, or two, shaves performance. And all of a sudden, the whole sanctity of professional sports, the belief that games are played with full intensity by both teams on the same rules on an even playing field, gets shattered. And then you know what you have wrestling. So I think that it was not well thought through. And what you have on all these issues, whether it's conference realignment, whether it's NIL, or whether it's gambling, is the law of unintended consequences. No one thought through what the end point was this. So yes, you can go bet in the Commander Stadium on a game, and yes, we have two owners that own part of FanDuel, but what happened to that impregnable wall between gambling and sports that ensured that there were no alternative factors in performance?
Yeah. You alluded to NIL. That was my last question for you. We have covered the explosion in NIL money for college athletes. And you talk about ceilings, or what was the plan when you talk about betting. Similarly, I don't know what's going to happen next in this NIL mania, because the numbers that you're seeing just keep getting bigger and bigger. 4 million or so for a college quarterback to transfer to a new school. As an agent, what do you think is going on there? And is it kind of getting too wild, or this is just what the market dictates?
No, it changes everything, and not for the positive, because the unintended consequence here was that they passed SB 206 in California back in the year 2020 to try to help athletes who came from disadvantaged backgrounds get some more money and equalize them with the non-athletes who can work during the school year to supplement their income. But all of a sudden, it's become the free agency for high school players going to college. And when the quarterback at LSU decommits because he got offered $14 million to go to another school, what you're going to see is a evolution of four conferences that have the big alumni groups. They will sign all the great players. They will pull away from the pack. It'll be the have and have-nots, and the NCAA. Those four conferences will disassociate with the NCAA, and they'll negotiate their own TV contracts, and they'll negotiate their own rules. So this was not what it was supposed to be. It was, those players would have been happy with $5,000 extra dollars to give them a car or a nicer apartment, not $15 million.
That's over now. It's got to be millions. Leigh, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
We'll have more for you from Radio Row right away.